Hi, I'm Lawrence Paula. I'm the author of the INFJ Writer, and I'm teaching a new live class this August called You Are a Writer, Getting Past the Fear and Finally Moving Forward. Now, in the last video in this series, video 1, I talked about procrastination and perfectionism, and how the roots of procrastination and perfectionism are actually emotional blind spots for writers, meaning we can't see why we do those things ourselves. We need other people to point them out to us. It's extremely hard to get to the root of it on our own. In this new class, we're going to be shedding some light on those blind spots. We're going to be working together with me as the teacher and the other class members as support to really help dig down into the emotional, psychological layers of why we sabotage ourselves, why we feel like imposters, why we can't seem to get past that crippling perfectionism, and the procrastination that every writer feels too. When writers are in that place, as we all know, we feel miserable, we feel ashamed, we feel alone, we feel like it's our dirty secret. You know, we might put on this brave face to the world that we love writing and we're a writer, but inside we don't feel like a writer. And sometimes we might not even feel like we can tell people we're a writer at all because we question it so much inside and feel like such an imposter, like, well, I want to be a writer, but I'm not technically writing anything, or I have so many problems with writing. And this all sort of combines to be this big, icky ball of gunk inside of us that just feels absolutely horrible. What we're going to do in this class is take you from that very dark, depressed place to a place where you actually feel joy in the writing process again, where you feel curiosity and wonder, and you're excited to sit down at the page. You're excited to, look forward to your Saturday morning and do some writing, or your Sunday evening. You're looking forward to setting aside that time for yourself, and you're looking forward to getting to know your characters, doing work on your memoir, whatever creative project you're working on. So that's the shift that this class is going to take you through, from dark, depressed, and miserable to new hope and joy and wonder, and it can actually be a process of play again, like it was when you were a little kid, if you ever wrote when you were a little kid, which most writers did. So this is possible. One of the ways to do this is to bring awareness in about how the negative self-talk and the inner critic that we all struggle with, how that inner critic it shows up and then controls and sabotages our creative process, which is something I'm going to be talking about in this video. So most writers, if you're watching this, and you probably are one of these most writers I'm talking about, who struggle with perfectionism, procrastination, imposter syndrome, when they sit down to do a writing session, they feel a very intense conflict inside. On one hand, they love writing. Writing has usually been a refuge for them throughout their life. It's been a place where they can seek healing. They usually feel relief afterwards if they do get some words down. It's been a way to explore themselves and do that self-discovery. It's always felt like home to them in this magic place. At the very same time, when they sit down to do some writing, it feels scary. It feels like something they dread. They feel very vulnerable and exposed. They feel like they might feel stuck or awkward when the words come out, and then they start self-judging. And so it feels very painful. Now, the thing is, these two things are going on simultaneously in the writer's brain and the writer's energy field. So it's really crazy making, because the writer wants to do this so badly. They want to fulfill this deep need they have to be creative and to create out of themselves. But at the same time, it feels so scary and so painful, they want to avoid it at all costs. This is where this really, really deep conflict comes in. And it usually comes in every single time they sit down to write. So if we can bring awareness in instead of self-judgment, that's really the key. Because usually when we sit down and feel this conflict, we actually go stronger into self-judgment. We start looking at what we're doing like, you're lazy, like you're so stupid, why can't you just get the words down on the page? It's not that hard. Or we might compare ourselves to others, like, well, my friend Sally can write 2,000 words every day. Why can't I? What's wrong with me? when we shift out of the negative self-talk and the self-judgment, and we just bring in the awareness of like, okay, I'm sitting here, I want to write, I recognize that, but I also recognize that I'm feeling a lot of anxiety in my body. I'm feeling a fluttery feeling of panic in my chest. My throat feels constricted. I feel very scared of what might come out on the page. When we start excavating and exploring those feelings, the body sensations, the emotional feelings that are coursing through us, without judgment, with neutral compassion, just witnessing them and really observing them, that's when things start to shift. It sounds like such a small thing because usually we want to go into this charging forward, lots of tips and tricks and strategies and sit your butt in the chair and we're going to conquer this. This isn't about conquering. This is about bringing in self-love and compassion, which is actually much harder to do. But once we can start bringing that awareness in of, oh, I'm experiencing a really deep push-pull conflict every time I sit down to write, what's that about? What's behind that? Why is that? When we start to question and gently probe inside ourselves, that's when things start to shift. So that's what I'm going to be teaching in this live class. I'm going to be teaching that and a bunch of other stuff. We're going to go really, really deep. There's going to be one live class a week. I think it's going to be on Tuesday evenings. That's what it's looking like right now, where I'm teaching. There's a live Q&A. Also, another evening a week, we're going to be meeting and doing a silent writing group together for an hour. So I'll kick things off, and I'll say, okay, we're going to do an hour, and then we'll set a timer and we'll all write together for an hour. Now, this is not a critique group. We're not going to be sharing anything. This is just to sit together, and so the writers who are struggling with procrastination can really feel into that and see what that looks like if they do set aside an hour a week to work. The writers that are struggling with perfectionism will have a chance in a safe space to really witness those feelings as they come up and explore them. And they can do that on their own, or they could also share it in the group. We're also going to have a Facebook group at a later time if they feel comfortable. So there's going to be a live class and a silent writing session every week. And I think this is going to bring really, really big results for people. I've had years and years of proven results in writing groups where we sit and do the silent hour together as a collective. It works so, so well. You would be surprised. It's kind of better than therapy sometimes. So that is going to be the format of the class as it stands right now. In the next video, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest limiting beliefs that's instilled in childhood for writers and is actually one of the roots of perfectionism. This is something I hear from almost every writer who tells me, I can't get over my perfectionism. It's just blocking me at every turn. When I sit down and say, let's look at your beliefs around, what a writer is, what a writer does, what writing means, this one always comes up. So in the next video, I'm going to be tackling that and showing why it's a complete myth and it needs to be dissolved. It's no longer serving any of us, and we can move on to lots better things. So if you have any questions about the class at all, if you're like, I'm seriously interested, I just need details, I want to know how much it costs, I want to know, what the platform is, or other topics you're going to be talking about, or what's this about the Facebook group, anything at all, please contact me. You can use the contact form on my website. You can also email me, writecitySF@gmail.com, WRITECITYSF@gmail.com. Also, sign up for my newsletter in the links below. You'll get all the updates to the class. I'm going to open up registration, I think, in just a few days now. And I'll leave that window open for about 5 days, but when it's shut, it's shut. So if you're serious about getting in the class, please keep an eye on your inbox. If you have questions, please email me. Until then, I will see you guys next time.